Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Blood Diamond. And this movie came out in 2006, and it was just on Netflix, and I decided to watch it. And I thought this movie was alright. And what I like about it are some of the performances were pretty good, and it was fine throughout. There isn't a whole lot to say about this movie in terms of positives. It was just steady 5 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 5 out of 10. And that's how I pretty much felt about the whole movie. And I guess you don't really need to listen to the rest of the review because I just told you my rating. But what I feel as though this movie could have done to make it a good movie for me would be if the action was better filmed and it was like really effective in what it was doing, and the violence, if it was like not so ridiculous. And there's a scene in this movie like in the first 8 minutes where a guy gets his arm cut off and there's like no blood, which I found to be really weird. And I was just amused when that happened. I was like, really? It's like he's lost his arm. It felt as though there were like no consequences to this film because of that, and everything just kind of felt very by the books, and there was nothing particularly engaging throughout the film. And Leonardo DiCaprio, his performance, sometimes it was good, other times his accent was a little all over the place, and every once in a while his accent just sounded like regular Leonardo DiCaprio, and it was very distracting. And the characters in this movie are not really interesting, and they try to give them things to make them interesting, but there really just isn't much there. And the story for the film is interesting on its own, but the problem with the movie is that they just don't do anything interesting with it, and the music doesn't complement any of the scenes, and the story is exactly what you think it's going to be, even if you're not familiar with like the real life story that this movie is based on. There's really no surprises as to how it plays out, and once you see the first 20 minutes of the movie, you know exactly what's going to happen. And I was just so disappointed by that because I was really hoping that this movie would have something, like some surprise for me. And in a way, there kind of was, but it's not worth it. The villain of the movie I found to be really goofy, and there are plenty of scenes where he could have stood out, and what they do with him is just so ridiculous. And there's a scene in this movie where he's taking guys, prisoners, to like look for diamonds, and he catches one of the guys who's like a slave to him, and he catches him pointing it in his mouth, like a tiny diamond in his mouth, and just tells him to give it to me, and then he shoots him right in the chest. And that should be intense. Like, this is a guy you do not mess around with. Like Vito Corleone in The Godfather. Like, they establish that he's a guy you do not mess with, and he means business. But in this movie, it's so ridiculous because he does all these elaborate things, and it just comes across as goofy. And one of the things that he does is he turns one of our main characters' kid into one of his soldiers, and you could have done something interesting with that. You could have made this like really interesting and really sad, and the movie was trying to do all those things, but it doesn't succeed in doing that because the presentation of everything is just very hollow. Something that would have probably helped out my experience a lot and not made me so bored throughout would be if there were just at least a few shots every now and again that stood out to me. But as is, there are no shots in this movie that stood out to me, and while nothing seemed super fake in any scene, it just would have helped out the movie a lot if the visual presentation of the film had something going for it. But unfortunately, that didn't happen, and I was just left kind of bored. And that's about all I have to say about Blood Diamond. It's a competent film. It does what it wants to. And if you're just looking for a movie did kill 2.5 hours, then I guess this is an alright choice. It's just not a movie for me, and I would have liked it for something else to be going on that would have hooked me into the story, like, I don't know, Apocalypse Now, like my favorite war movie ever. That movie has so much going on in it. The visual presentation is amazing, and the story is great, and the characters are interesting, and like there's so much going on in that movie that I'm never bored by it, and regardless of which cut I'm watching of that movie, I can still be engaged because it just has so much to offer me. But this movie kind of just has nothing. And for the record, I didn't expect much going in. I have no idea who the director of this movie was. I'm not familiar with any of their work, or at least not off the top of my head. But unfortunately, when it's a movie that has actors that I like, but I don't trust the director, that's not really a good sign for me. I go after directors and not actors, because that's it's kind of how things work for me, and that's how I find really great movies, is by following directors that I like. And with all that being said, I'm going to give Blood Diamond a 5 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos as always. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below you thought of Blood Diamond, and my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for The Man Who Knew Too Much, the 1956 version, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, so look forward to that. But until I get that up, thank you for watching, and have a great day!